Good morning to all. My voice is a bit hoarse, so please bear with me. Okay. I thought I was just introduce myself. My name is Richard. I'm a medical doctor. And I thought I'd just share some thoughts of my life. My pleasure to be invited by Prof. And hopefully we can be thinking about how as you pursue this embarkment of training to become dental surgeons, thinking about other things as well. Since young, the typical product of what today's society is, right? Relatively successful product of what society requires. From young, I was born to a below average family, and I was told by the media, people around me, that happiness is about success. And then success is about being wealthy. Okay. And with this mindset, I've always been extremely competitive since I was young. Not only do I need to get to the top school, I need to have success in all fields. Uniform groups, track, everything. I needed to get trophies, I needed to be successful, I needed to have Colours Award, National Colours Award, everything. Okay. So I was highly competitive since very young. And I went on to medical school, graduated as a doctor. Some of you may know that within the medical faculty, ophthalmology is one of the most highly sought after specialty. So I went after that as well. I was given a traineeship in ophthalmology. I was also given a research scholarship by NUS to develop lasers to treat the eye. So, in the process, I was given 2 patents, one for the medical devices, and the other for the lasers on the eye. And you know what? All this academic achievement didn't bring me any wealth. Alright. So once I completed my bond with MOH, I decided it's just taking too long. My training in eye surgery is just taking too long. And there's a lot of money to be made in the private sector. If you're aware, the last few years, there was this rise in aesthetic medicine. Tons of money to be made there. So I decided, well, enough of staying in the institution. It's time to leave. So I quit my training halfway, and I went on to set up my aesthetic clinic in town together with my day surgery. And the irony is that people do not make heroes out of the average GP, family physician. They don't. Right? They make heroes out of people who are much more famous. So people who are willing, they are not happy to pay $30 to see a GP. The same person has no qualms paying $10,000 for liposuction, $15,000 for breast augmentation, and so on and so forth. Right? So it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Why would I want to become a GP? Become an aesthetic physician. So instead of healing the sick and the ill, I decided that I become a glorified beautician. Alright? So business was good, very good. It started off just waiting time for 1 week, then became 3 weeks, then 1 month, then 2 months, then 3 months. I was overwhelmed. There's just too many patients. Vanity is a fantastic business. So I employed 1 doctor, I employed the 2nd doctor, the 3rd doctor, the 4th doctor. And within the first year, we were already raking in millions. Right? Just the first year. But never is enough because I was so obsessed with it. I started to expand into Indonesia. We get all the rich Indonesian Thais, okay, where they wouldn't blink an eye just to have a procedure done. So life was really good. So what do I do with this spare cash? How do I spend my weekends? Well, typically, I have car club gatherings. I take out my track car. The spare cash is our track car. We have car club gatherings. I go up to Sabang in Malaysia. We go car racing. Okay, and that was my life. With the other spare cash, what did I do? I get myself a Ferrari. Okay, at that time, the 458 wasn't out. It's just only a Spider convertible. Okay, 430. Next please. Next please. Next please. This is a friend of mine, my schoolmate, who's a forex trader, a banker. So he got the red one. He was putting it down for the red one, was getting the grey one. Okay. Okay, next. So what do you do next after you get a car? It's time to buy a house, to build our own bungalows. Okay, next. So we go around getting a GCB. We look for land to build our bungalows. We went around hunting. Next place. Okay. So how do I live my life? Well, beyond that, we have to mix around with the rich and famous, the beautiful. This is Miss Rachel Kam. She's one of Miss Universe. Next please. Next please. So we hang around with the beautiful, the rich and famous. Okay. Next please. This, by the way, is Ed Severin, is the co-founder of Facebook. He's worth $2.6 billion. Alright? So that's how we spend our life. You know? We're dining in all the restaurant, Michelin chefs, you know. So you know, I reached a point in life where I thought I had everything. So I arrived at the pinnacle of my career now. Next please. That's me, 1 year ago in the gym. Okay. And I thought I was like, you know, everything under control, you know, and you know, reaching the pinnacle of who I am. Well, I was wrong. I didn't have everything under control. About last year, March, I started to develop backache in the middle of nowhere. I thought maybe it's because of all the heavy squats I was doing and all. So I went to the street, saw my classmate and said, hey, can you do an MRI just to make sure it's not a slip disc or anything? And that evening, they called me out and said, hey, you know, we found bone marrow replacement in your spine. I said, sorry, what does that mean? I mean, I know what it means. I couldn't accept it. I said, are you serious? You know, I was still running around, I was still going to the gym and all. But we had more scans the next day, a PET scan, and positron electron scan, and we found out that actually I had a stage 4 terminal lung cancer. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? It's already spread to the brain, to the spine, to the liver, to the adrenals. And you know, one moment I was there, totally thinking that I have everything under control, that I reached the pinnacle of my life. But the next moment, I kind of just lost it. You know. Next one, please. This is a CT scan of the lungs itself. If you look at it, every single dot there is a tumor. We call this Millery's or Millery's tumor. And in fact, I have tens of thousands of them in the lungs. Right? So I was told, even with chemotherapy, that we have about 3 to 4 months at most. Did my life come crashing down? Of course it did. Probably. I went to depression, of course, severe depression. And I thought I had everything. See, the irony is that all these things that I had, all the success, trophies, my cars, my house and all, I thought that brought me happiness. You know? But when I was feeling really down, in a severe depression, having all this thought of my possessions, it brought me no joy at all. Right? The thought of, you know, I can hug my Ferrari to sleep, no, you know, it's not going to happen. It brought not a single comfort during my last 10 months, having all these thoughts. And I thought they were true happiness, but it wasn't. What really brought me joy first in the last 10 months was interaction with people, with my loved ones, friends, people who genuinely care about me. You know, they laugh and cry with me. They are able to identify the pain and the suffering that I was going through. That brought joy to me. happiness. Not the objects that I have, not the possessions. And I thought those were supposed to bring me happiness, but it didn't. Because if it did, I would have felt happy thinking about it during when I was feeling most down. You know, the classical Chinese New Year that's coming up. In the past, what do I do? Well, I will usually drive my flashy car to meet the rounds and visit my relatives, to show it off to my friends. And I thought that was joy, you know. That was real joy. But do you really think that my relatives and friends, or some of them having difficulty trying to make ends meet, that they truly share the joy with me, seeing me driving my flashy car and showing off to them? No way. They won't be sharing joy with me. They'll be having problems making ends meet, taking public transport. In fact, I think what I've done is more like, you know, making them envious, jealous of what I have. In fact, sometimes even hatred. Those are what I call objects of envy. You know, I have them, I show it off to them, and I feel I can feed my own pride and ego. Alright? It didn't bring any joy to these people, to my friends and my relatives. And I thought they were real joy. Well, let me just share another story with you. You know, when I was about your age, staying in King Edward VII Hall, I had this friend who was, I thought, strange. Her name is Jennifer. We're still good friends. And as I walk along the path, if she sees a snail, she would actually pick up the snail and put it along in a grass patch. I was like, why do you need to do that? You know, why dirty your hands? It's just a snail. But truth is, she could feel for the snail. The thought of being crushed to death is real to her. But to me, it's just a snail. If you can't get out of the pathway of humans, then you deserve to be crushed. It's part of evolution, isn't it? What an irony, isn't it? Then I was being trained as a doctor to be compassionate, to be able to empathize, but I couldn't. As a house officer, I graduated from medical school, posted to the oncology department in Cambridge. And every day, every other day, I witnessed death in the cancer department. And you know, I see how they suffered, I see all the pain that they went through, I see all the morphine that they press every few minutes just to relieve the pain. I see them struggling with their oxygen, taking their last breath and all. But it was just a job. You know, I went to clinic every day, to the wards every day, take blood, give them medication. But was the patient real to me? They weren't real to me. It's just a job. I do it, I get out of the ward, I can't wait to go back home to do my own stuff. Was the pain, was the suffering that the patients went through real? No. Of course, I know all the medical things to describe how they feel, all the suffering they went through. But in truth, I do not know how they feel. Okay. Not until when I became the patient. Because I can tell you now, I truly understand how they feel. Okay? And if you ask me, would I have been a very different doctor if I were to relive my life again? Now, okay, I can tell you yes, because I truly understand how the patient feels now, right? And sometimes, you know, I have to learn it the hard way. Even as you start just your first year, you know, to become, mark this journey to become dental surgeons, let me just challenge you on 2 fronts. Inevitably, all of you here, when you start to go into private practice, you will start to accumulate wealth. I can guarantee that. Okay? Just doing an implant can bring you thousands of dollars. It's fantastic money. And actually, there's nothing wrong with being successful, with being rich or wealthy. Absolutely nothing wrong. The only trouble is, I think a lot of us, and myself, we couldn't handle it. Why do I say that? Because when I start to accumulate, the more I have, the more I wanted. The more I wanted, the more obsessed I became. And what I showed you earlier on, all I cared was basically to get more possessions to reach the pinnacle of what society determines, and what they want us to be. And I became so obsessed that nothing else really mattered to me. Patience was just a source of income, and I tried to squeeze every single cent out of these patients. A lot of times we forget whom we're supposed to be serving, and we become so lost that we serve nobody else but just ourselves. And that was what happened to me. Whether it's in the medical, the dental fraternity, I can tell you right now, the right practice, sometimes we just advise patient on treatment that's not indicated. Gray areas, and even though it's not necessary, we can't advocate it. We can't lose our moral compass along the way because we just want to serve ourselves. Worse, I can tell you, over the last few years, we badmouth our fellow colleagues, our fellow competitors in the industry. We have no qualms about it. So long as we can put them down, give ourselves an advantage, we do that. Okay. And that's what's happening right now. Medical, dental, everywhere. My challenge to you is to not to lose that moral compass. Alright? I learned the hard way. I hope you never have to do that. Secondly, a lot of us will start to get numb to our patients as we start to practice. Even as we go into whether it's government hospitals, private practice. I can tell you when I was in the hospital, stacks of patients' folders. I can't wait to get rid of all these folders as soon as possible. I can't wait to get the patient out of my consultation room as soon as possible because there's just so many. Right? And that's a reality because it becomes a job, a very routine job, the OPD. And that's the sad part of it. Do I truly know how the patient feels back then? No, I don't. And the fears, the anxiety and all, do I truly understand what they are going through? I don't. Not until when this happens to me. And I think that's one of the biggest flaws in our system because we're being trained as healthcare providers, professionals, and yet we don't know how exactly they feel. I'm not asking you to get involved emotionally. I can do this professionally, but do we actually make a real effort to understand what they're going through, the pain, Most of us won't. Right? I can assure you of that. So, don't lose it. Okay? My challenge to you is to always be able to put yourself in the patient's shoes. Right? Because the pain, the anxiety, the fear are very real. Even though it's not real to you, it's real to them. Right? So, don't lose it. And right now, I'm in the midst of my 5th cycle of my chemotherapy. I can tell you it's a terrible feeling. Right? Chemotherapy is one of those things you don't wish even your enemies to go through because it's just suffering, lousy feeling, throwing out, you don't even know if you can retain your meals anymore. Terrible feeling. And even with whatever little energy now I have, I try to reach out to other cancer patients because I truly understand what pain and suffering is like. It's kind of a little too late and too little. Right? You guys have a bright future ahead of you. You have all the resource and energy. So I would think that I challenge you to go beyond your immediate patients. To understand that there are people out there who are truly in pain, truly in hardship. Don't get the idea that only poor people suffer. It's not true because a lot of these poor people, they don't have much in the first place. They're easily contented. For all you know, they're happier than you. Okay? But there are out there people who are suffering mentally, physically, hardship, emotionally, financially, and so on and so forth. And they are real. We choose to ignore them, or we just don't want to know that they exist. So, do think about it. Right? Even as you go on to become professionals and mental surgeons, that you can reach out to these people who are in need. And whatever you do can make a large difference to them. I'm not at the receiving end, so I know how it feels like. Someone who genuinely care for me, encourage and all, it makes a lot of difference to me. But just okay, that's what happens after treatment. I had a treatment recently, but I'll leave this for another day. A lot of things happen along the way, and that's why I'm still able to talk to you today. Okay, next one. I'll just end on with this quote here. It's from this book called Tuesdays with Morris. I don't know, some of you may have read it. Okay. That everyone knows that they are going to die. Every one of us knows that. But the truth is, none of us believe it. Because if we did, we would do things differently. When I faced death, when I had to, I stripped myself off totally. And I focused only on what is essential. The irony is that a lot of times, only when we learn how to die, then we learn how to live. Okay. I know it sounds very morbid for this monk. Okay, but it's the truth. That's what I went through. Don't let society tell you how to live. Don't let the media tell you what you're supposed to do. Okay, because that's what's happened to me. And I live this life thinking that all these things are going to bring me happiness. Okay. I hope that you will think about it and decide for yourself how you want to live your own life. Okay, not according to what other people tell you to do. And you have to decide whether you want to serve yourself, or whether you want to make a difference in someone else's life. Right? Because true happiness won't come from serving yourself. I thought it was. Okay, but it didn't turn out that way. And with that, I thank you. If anything, any questions you have for me, please